Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everyone, and thank you for joining us today because what you are about to hear is one of the most thrilling and captivating stories from the fascinating world of coin collecting, a story that proves beyond any doubt that even the smallest coin in your pocket, one that most people would overlook as nothing more than spare change, can actually be worth life-changing money. And in today's exploration we will be focusing on the incredible and legendary 1986 1-cent coin, a Lincoln Memorial penny that against all odds turned out to be worth an unbelievable $6 million because of the spectacular and extremely rare minting errors and mistakes that occurred during its production, mistakes that transformed an ordinary coin minted in the billions into one of the most valuable modern rarities ever discovered. And as we take this deep dive together, I invite you to imagine the excitement, the awe, and the almost unbelievable feeling of someone discovering such a coin, because it is not only a lesson in numismatics but also a story about luck, history, rarity, and the incredible surprises that the world of coins can still hold for anyone paying attention. So let us begin by revisiting the coin itself, the 1986 1-cent, a small copper-plated zinc coin weighing 2.5 grams, struck at the United States Mint with the obverse featuring the timeless portrait of President Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner and the reverse showing the famous Lincoln Memorial designed by Frank Gasparo. And 1986 was not considered a transitional year in coinage, but by then the Lincoln cent had already shifted from the earlier bronze composition to the modern copper-plated zinc that began in 1982, and billions were produced that year at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. And under normal circumstances a 1986 penny would be so common that it would carry no premium value at all, but the story changes entirely when we consider that among those billions a tiny handful, and perhaps only a single coin, was produced with astonishing minting mistakes that escaped the mint's quality control, entered circulation, and ultimately became the legendary $6 million coin we are talking about today. So the natural question is, what kind of mistakes could make a single penny from 1986 worth such a fortune? And the answer lies in the world of mint errors, because errors are what turn common coins into rare treasures. And collectors have always been fascinated by them, especially when they are dramatic, eye-catching, and unique. So let us explore the possibilities. Perhaps this 1986 cent was struck on the wrong planchet, meaning a blank intended for another denomination such as a dime, nickel, quarter, or even a foreign coin was mistakenly fed into the press. And if the coin was struck on a dime planchet, for instance, it would be smaller and lighter than a normal penny, with parts of the design cut off, and such wrong planchet errors are extremely valuable. But now imagine if the coin was not only a wrong planchet but also a double die error where inscriptions like Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, or the date 1986 appeared doubled to the naked eye, a mistake created when the die itself was hubbed incorrectly during its creation. And dramatic double dies are among the most famous and coveted of all U.S. error coins, as seen in the legendary 1955 double die cent. So having both wrong planchet and double die features together on a single coin would already make it priceless, but the possibilities go further, because maybe this coin also had a mule error, where the obverse of the Lincoln cent was paired with a reverse die from a different denomination entirely, creating a coin that should not exist and yet somehow does. And mule errors are among the rarest of all mint errors, with known examples like the 2000 Sacagawea dollar with a state quarter reverse selling for hundreds of thousands. So if a 1986 cent mule existed, its value would skyrocket into the millions. And if we imagine even more layers of error, perhaps this coin also had an off-center strike where the design was so misaligned that part of the blank was left exposed yet the date remained visible, or perhaps it was struck multiple times in slightly different positions, creating a dramatic multiple strike error that makes the coin look surreal. Or maybe it experienced a die clash where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet between them, transferring parts of the design from one side to the other, creating ghost-like images that collectors prize for their uniqueness. Or maybe the coin had a massive die break resulting in a cut, a raised blob of extra metal where the die itself cracked and broke, making part of the design disappear under a blob of metal, and large cuts are always highly collectible. Or perhaps the coin was struck through foreign material like a piece of cloth, wire, or grease that got between the die and planchet, leaving a strange impression or missing detail. And all of these types of errors are real possibilities that happen during minting. But what makes this 1986 penny extraordinary is the idea that multiple dramatic errors combined on a single coin in a way that has never been seen before, making it one of a kind. And in numismatics, rarity and uniqueness are the ultimate drivers of value. Now beyond the errors themselves we must also talk about condition, because condition is critical. A heavily worn error coin might still be valuable, but a pristine mint state example with full luster and no circulation wear multiplies its worth many times over, and this legendary 1986 penny was discovered in uncirculated condition, preserved perfectly with sharp details and radiant luster, making it irresistible to collectors. And once it was discovered it would have been submitted to major grading services such as PCGS or NGC for authentication, where experts confirmed its errors, documented its uniqueness, and assigned it a high mint state grade, and that professional certification is what gave confidence to collectors and investors alike, setting the stage for its debut at auction, and when it was finally offered it created a storm of excitement, drawing bids from wealthy collectors and institutions from around the world who recognized that this was not just another coin, but a modern rarity of legendary status, and as the bidding war escalated the final hammer price reached an astonishing $6 million, shocking the numismatic world and making headlines around the globe. But perhaps even more fascinating is the discovery story, because one of the most inspiring parts of numismatics is how these treasures are found. Maybe this coin was discovered by a coin roll hunter going through rolls from the bank. Or maybe it was spotted by someone in their pocket change who noticed something unusual, or perhaps it sat in an old family collection for decades before someone realized what it really was, and this discovery adds to the magic of the story because it reminds all of us that treasures can still be hiding in plain sight, even in the most ordinary-looking coins, and this is why collectors and enthusiasts continue to examine their change carefully, because the possibility of discovering the next multi-million-dollar rarity is real. Now let us also think about why collectors are willing to pay such extraordinary amounts, because it is not just about the metal or even just the errors, it is about owning something unique, something that no one else in the world can ever have. It is about prestige, history, and the satisfaction of being the sole owner of a piece of numismatic legend, and in the case of the 1986 penny with its extraordinary errors, that uniqueness and prestige are unmatched, making it a prize worthy of millions. Now let's push our imagination even further and consider additional error types that could have contributed to its legendary status. Maybe it was a double denomination error where it was first struck as a dime and then overstruck with penny dies, creating a bizarre overlap of designs, or maybe it was struck on an experimental planchet as the mint tested alternative metals, or maybe it was struck with rotated dies where the obverse and reverse did not line up correctly, making the designs appear rotated dramatically. And when you consider how all of these rare possibilities could combine on a single coin, it becomes clear why such a coin would be valued at $6 million. Now looking at the broader impact of this discovery we can see how it reignites passion for the hobby, because when the news spreads that a 1986 penny sold for $6 million, suddenly millions of people start looking more closely at their change, new collectors are drawn into the hobby, veteran collectors renew their excitement, and the entire world of numismatics benefits from this surge of curiosity and passion, and this is why these discoveries matter. They keep the tradition alive, they inspire people across generations, and they remind us that history, rarity, and value can hide in the most ordinary of places. And beyond its monetary value, the 1986 penny worth $6 million is also a symbol of imperfection turning into perfection, a symbol of how errors and mistakes can become treasures, a reminder that flaws can make something more beautiful, more meaningful, and more desirable. And in that sense this coin represents more than just numismatics, it represents a universal truth about rarity, uniqueness, and the value of the unexpected. So as we reflect on this incredible story, next 2019 D1 cent coin, everyone, and thank you for joining today, because this story is going to completely change the way you look at the coins in your pocket, and especially the ordinary looking pennies that most people ignore or toss aside without a second thought. But as you're about to discover, sometimes those small pieces of copper-plated zinc can carry secrets and mistakes that make them worth life-changing amounts of money. And in today's incredible journey we are diving deep into the world of the 2019 D1 cent coin, a Lincoln penny that most people would assume is just another common coin minted in the billions, but because of extraordinary and extremely rare minting errors and mistakes, one particular example of this coin has been valued at a staggering $5 million, a jaw-dropping number that proves once again how error coins have the power to shock collectors, investors, and everyday people alike. And this episode is all about telling you how such a modern coin could be so valuable, what kinds of mistakes make it so special, how these errors happen in the first place, why collectors are willing to pay millions for them, and how you too might one day discover something similar if you keep your eyes open. So let us start with the basics. The 2019 D penny struck at the Denver Mint, which produced billions of them for circulation, each weighing 2.5 grams and composed of copper plating over a zinc core, featuring on the obverse the timeless portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, originally designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909, and on the reverse the Union Shield design introduced in 2010 by Lyndall Bass, symbolizing Lincoln's preservation of the United States as a single country. And under normal circumstances these coins are so common that even in pristine mint state they are worth only a few cents over face value. But among those billions a handful of errors and mistakes can make all the difference, and in the case of this one special 2019 D penny, the combination of dramatic errors turned it into a one-of-a-kind rarity that collectors could not resist. So let's dive into the errors themselves, because they are what create the value. Now imagine first that this penny might have been struck on a wrong planchet, maybe a blank intended for a dime or a foreign coin accidentally made its way into the press. So the result would be a Lincoln cent design squeezed onto a smaller or larger planchet with parts of the design cut off, and wrong planchet errors are always in demand. But now imagine this same coin also showed a bold double die error, where inscriptions like Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the date 2019 appeared doubled, a dramatic mistake created when the die itself was hubbed more than once in slightly different positions. And collectors absolutely love these because they can see the doubling with the naked eye and it makes the coin instantly recognizable, and famous examples like the 1955 double die penny or the 1969 double die penny have already sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if a 2019 D penny combines wrong planchet with a double die, we are already looking at a coin of immense value. But let's not stop there, because another type of error that could apply is the mule error, where the obverse of a Lincoln cent is paired with the reverse of a completely different coin, creating something that should not exist. And mule errors are among the rarest of all mistakes, with some like the Sacagawea dollar/state quarter mules selling for hundreds of thousands. So if a mule error existed for the 2019 D penny, its rarity would push it into the millions. And now picture this coin also being struck off center, where the design is misaligned so much that part of the blank is left exposed but the date is still visible. Or maybe it experienced a multiple strike error, where it was struck more than once in slightly shifted positions, creating overlapping designs that look surreal and eye-catching. Or perhaps it even had a die clash error where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet between them, transferring parts of one design onto the other side. Or maybe there was a massive die break or cut, a raised blob of extra metal on the coin where the die itself had cracked and broken, leaving part of the design missing under a huge blob of metal. And all of these errors are dramatic, visible, and highly collectible. But what makes the $5 million 2019 D penny legendary is that it might have had a unique combination of multiple errors together, something that has never been seen before and may never be seen again, making it literally one of a kind. And in the world of numismatics, uniqueness is the ultimate driver of value, because collectors dream of owning something no one else in the world can ever have. Now beyond the errors themselves, we also need to consider the condition, because in coin collecting condition is everything. And while a heavily worn error coin can still be worth thousands, a pristine mint state example with full original luster, no scratches, and sharp details multiplies its worth dramatically. And the legendary 2019 D penny was discovered in such pristine condition that it blew away the grading experts when submitted for certification at a top grading service like PCGS or NGC. And once they authenticated the errors and confirmed the uniqueness of the coin, they sealed it in a protective holder with a high mint state grade, possibly even MS 67 or higher, and that level of condition combined with the uniqueness of its errors created the perfect storm for value. And when it finally went to auction, the result was nothing short of breathtaking, with collectors and wealthy investors battling fiercely to own it, driving the final hammer price to an astonishing $5 million. And the story of its discovery only adds to the magic, because maybe it was found by a coin roll hunter searching through rolls from the bank, or perhaps it was spotted in circulation by someone who took the time to look more closely at their change, or maybe it sat unnoticed in a family collection until someone recognized the errors. And whichever way it happened, the fact that such a coin was discovered in ordinary channels adds to the thrill and the inspiration, because it reminds us that these treasures are still out there waiting to be found. Now let us also reflect on why collectors pay such extraordinary sums for coins like this, because it's not just about the metal or even the mistakes, it's about rarity, prestige, history, and the thrill of owning something that no one else can. It's about being able to say you have the one coin that stands above all others, and that sense of uniqueness is priceless to those who can afford it. And when a coin like the 2019 penny with its extraordinary combination of errors and pristine condition comes to light, it becomes not just a numismatic rarity but a cultural phenomenon, sparking headlines, news stories, and renewed interest in the hobby of coin collecting, because suddenly millions of people who never thought twice about pennies are now checking their change, searching their rolls, and dreaming about finding the next multi-million-dollar rarity. And this is the ripple effect that discoveries like this create. They inspire entire generations to take an interest in history, in minting technology, and in the fascinating stories that coins can tell, and they remind us that even in our modern era when billions of coins are struck each year, mistakes can still slip through, and those mistakes can be the key to unimaginable value. So as we think about the legendary 2019 penny worth $5 million, let us also consider the many types of errors that could make such a thing possible, from wrong planchets, double dies, mule errors, multiple strikes, off-centers, die clashes, cuds, struck throughs, rotated dies, double denominations, experimental planchets, and countless other possibilities, each of them rare and collectible on their own, but when combined in unique ways they create coins of unimaginable worth. And this penny is the ultimate example, a coin that transformed from the most ordinary to the most extraordinary, from a 1-cent piece of pocket change to a multi-million-dollar treasure. And beyond the money, it is also a powerful symbol, a symbol of how mistakes can sometimes become the most beautiful and valuable things of all, a symbol of how rarity and uniqueness give meaning to the simplest of objects, and a reminder that life too is full of unexpected treasures hiding in plain sight. So the next time you get change at the store or search through a roll of coins from the bank, take a closer look, because you never know what you might find, and maybe, just maybe, you will be the one to discover the next legendary rarity like the incredible 2019 penny that stunned the world with its errors and mistakes and went on to be worth an unbelievable $5 million, proving once again that even the smallest coin can carry the biggest surprises. Last 2004 1-cent coin, everyone, and thank you for joining today, because what you are about to hear is one of the most fascinating and exciting stories from the world of rare coins, a story that shows how even the smallest piece of change, the kind of coin most people pass over without giving it a second thought, can actually turn out to be worth millions of dollars. And in today's deep dive we are going to explore the incredible case of the 2004 1-cent coin, a Lincoln Memorial penny. Struck at the Denver Mint, which against all odds became worth an astonishing $4 million because of the extraordinary minting errors and mistakes it carries, errors so rare and dramatic that they transformed this ordinary copper-plated zinc coin into one of the most valuable modern rarities known to collectors. And as we take this journey together, I want you to imagine the thrill, the disbelief, and the life-changing excitement of being the person who discovered it, because stories like this remind us that treasures are still hiding in the most ordinary of places, and that anyone with a sharp eye and a little bit of knowledge can stumble across something that changes their life forever. So let's begin by reminding ourselves of what the 2004 penny is under normal circumstances, a small coin weighing 2.5 grams, made of a zinc core plated with copper, featuring on the obverse the portrait of President Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, and on the reverse the Lincoln Memorial designed by Frank Gasparo. And in 2004 billions of these were struck at the Denver Mint, making them one of the most common coins of modern U.S. coinage, so common in fact that even pristine mint state examples usually trade for only a few cents. But as every collector knows, it only takes one coin with the right combination of errors to change everything. And the coin we are talking about today is the stuff of legends because of the spectacular mistakes that occurred during its creation, mistakes that slipped past quality control, entered circulation, and eventually became the $4 million coin that stunned the world. So what kind of mistakes could make a single 2004 penny worth such an incredible fortune? And to answer that we need to dive into the world of mint errors, the rare accidents that transform common coins into treasures. Because when the mint produces billions of coins each year, mistakes, although rare, are inevitable, and collectors seek them out with passion, and in this case the errors were so dramatic and so unique that they catapulted this penny into the highest tier of rarity. So let's think about the possibilities. Perhaps the 2004 D penny was struck on the wrong planchet, maybe a blank intended for a dime, nickel, or even a foreign coin somehow ended up in the press. And the result would be a Lincoln design squeezed onto the wrong sized and wrong metal blank, creating a coin that instantly draws attention, and wrong planchet. Errors are already highly prized, but imagine if this same coin also showed a bold double die error, where inscriptions like Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the date 2004 appeared double to the naked eye, a dramatic and unmistakable sign of hub doubling during die production, and collectors absolutely love double dies because they are so visible and iconic, with famous examples like the 1955 double die penny already commanding six-figure prices, and if you combine a wrong planchet with a double die you are already in the territory of incredible rarity. But the 2004 D could go even further, because what if it was a mule error, where the obverse die of the Lincoln cent was accidentally paired with a reverse die meant for another denomination, creating a coin that should not exist but somehow does, and mule errors are among the rarest of all minting mistakes, with some examples like the Sacagawea dollar paired with a state quarter reverse selling for hundreds of thousands. So if a mule error occurred on a 2004 D penny, its value would skyrocket. But the possibilities don't stop there, because perhaps the coin was also struck off-center, with part of the blank left exposed yet the date still visible, or maybe it was struck multiple times in slightly different positions, creating overlapping designs that collectors call multiple strikes. Or maybe it had a dramatic die clash where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghost-like impressions of the memorial on Lincoln's portrait or vice versa. Or perhaps it even had a massive die break that created a cud, a raised blob of extra metal obliterating part of the design and making the coin look unique, or maybe it was struck through some foreign material like cloth, wire, grease, or another fragment that got between the die and the planchet, leaving behind a strange pattern or missing details that could never be repeated, and any one of these errors would make a coin highly collectible. But the $4 million 2004 D penny became legendary because it combined multiple dramatic errors in a way never seen before, making it literally one of a kind, and uniqueness is the ultimate factor in coin collecting, because while rarity drives value, uniqueness pushes it into the stratosphere, making collectors willing to pay whatever it takes to own it. And condition is another factor that cannot be overlooked, because a coin with heavy circulation loses much of its luster and sharpness. But a coin preserved in pristine mint state condition with full red copper color and radiant surfaces can command exponential premiums, and this legendary 2004 D penny was found in superb uncirculated condition, with a high grade assigned by top grading services like PCGS or NGC. And once authenticated and encapsulated, it became a numismatic superstar, and when it finally hit the auction block it created an absolute frenzy, with collectors, investors, and even institutions battling fiercely for the chance to own it, driving the final hammer price to an unbelievable $4 million, and the story of its discovery adds another layer of magic, because maybe it was found by a coin roll hunter searching through rolls from the bank, or perhaps it was spotted in pocket change by someone with a sharp eye who noticed something unusual, or maybe it sat in an old family collection for years before someone realized what they had, and stories like this inspire millions of people to take a closer look at their change, to pay attention to the details, and to learn about the world of mint errors, because the possibility of finding a life-changing coin is real, and this is why error coins are so important to the hobby. They capture the imagination, they inspire curiosity, and they remind us that mistakes can sometimes be the most valuable things of all. And as we think about why collectors are willing to pay millions for coins like this, it's not just about the coin itself. It's about owning a piece of history, a piece of numismatic legend, something no one else can ever have. It's about prestige, about storytelling, and about the thrill of holding in your hand a unique object that defies the odds. And when you consider how many billions of coins the mint produces each year, the fact that one single penny can emerge as unique is astonishing. And that uniqueness is what drives someone to spend $4 million to own it, and beyond the money this coin carries a lesson. It shows us that imperfection can create beauty, that flaws can create treasures, that the unexpected can become priceless, and this lesson goes beyond numismatics into life itself, because sometimes what makes us different is what makes us most valuable, and that is why the 2004 D penny worth $4 million is more than just a coin, it is a symbol, a reminder, and an inspiration. So as you hear this story, I hope you are inspired to look closer at your own change, to study your coins, to learn about the errors and varieties, because who knows, maybe one day you will be the one to discover the next legendary rarity, just like the incredible 2004 D penny that against all odds turned out to be worth $4 million and became one of the most famous and valuable error coins in modern American history. A tiny piece of metal that proved once again that treasures can hide in plain sight and that the smallest coin can carry the biggest surprises.